Okay, so Ireland international Jack Conan is with us in studio. He was speaking at the launch of the This Is My Dublin campaign, promoting Dublin City Sports Fest 2019. Now, Sports Fest is a week-long celebration of sport and physical activity from the 23rd to the 29th of September. Everyone is encouraged to participate, regardless of age, ability or background. For more information, visit dublincity.ie/sportsfest. That's dublincity.ie/sportsfest. Jack, how are things?
Good, yeah, no, feeling good. It's nice to be in a bit of camp for a few hours, so I'm making the most of it.
And at long last, a game this weekend. I know you're probably not going to be involved, but a game nonetheless. I'm sure the coaching team are just as happy about that as anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a few of the lads now, a few of the Tide 5 are happy to see the back of pre-season for a few days and get them to stop doing a few sprints. So it's nice to get back to normality in some sense and kind of turn your focus to a game.
When it comes to Ireland camp these days, for you, do you just feel a bit more comfortable there, that you kind of deserve to be there, that you're fully established as an Ireland international at this point?
Yeah, after been in the camp for the last few years, obviously the first time you're in is pretty nerve-wracking. You think, every single training session, like if I mess up here, this will be the end of me. So the kind of intensity of it wears off a little bit, and you become a bit more comfortable to be able to just do your own thing and enjoy it a bit more. And especially at the moment in pre-season, when there's no kind of imminent games on the weekend, it takes that bit of stress off. You can just go out and train hard, and put a lot of effort in. But it's slightly less of a stressful time, but now kind of big game in the weekend. How
long does it take to get to that level of comfort?
I suppose I'm probably a bit of a nervous soul. Probably took me a bit longer than others. You see kind of the younger lads coming in, like Jordan Larmer rocks in, just not a care in the world. Just he's out there throwing a ball around with his mates, and it's kind of unfazed by it all. I was probably a bit more of a nervous wreck, and so afraid of doing something wrong that I probably ended doing nothing. Where you kind of see the young lads now coming in with so much confidence, and they're just kind of like completely unfazed by it. And I think it's definitely a trait I wish I had more of when I was their age. Jordo and James Ryan, even Jacob Stockdale, and those lads just so natural and so easy for them.
Do you think that it was because perhaps you were a little bit older coming into the international setup? Like, I think your Six Nations debut was at the age of 25. Whatever making my Six Nations debut, I think when I first came in for my first camp, I think it might have been 22. I think it was probably the kind of age demographic of the squad was probably a bit different to what it is now. I think you probably had a lot of kind of older lads, kind of a bit more experience, where now it's more of a youthful mix. You've obviously got your Rory Best and your Johnny Sexton, and obviously Pete, who's had so much experience but still is 29 or whatever it is. So it's I think there's a kind of wider age gap, and things are a bit more kind of diluted in the sense that it's not just kind of lads at the kind of the peak of their career or in the latter stages of their career. It's more of a mix. Do you think you were a late developer?
I probably wasn't as mature as I could have been when I was younger, in a few different aspects of life, but I feel I probably just took a while to grow into myself and be a bit more comfortable, and especially on the pitch and when I was training. So you could probably say I was probably a bit of a late developer. Yeah.
How do you mean you didn't have that maturity?
I look back now and I probably wasted a few opportunities. The first few times I was in at a camp, I probably didn't maximise those opportunities. I probably didn't know what was needed of me or what level I had to be at to kind of play at that level, and it probably didn't hit me till like a few years later, when I kind of been in and out a few times and saw the level of detail that's needed to kind of perform on such a big stage.
Do you think it was impacted as well by the fact that, I guess, compared to other back rows, you might have started off a little bit later, because you started off as a tight head prop, I think, in school?
Well, I only played tight head prop now for about a few months, like when I first started off in Gerrards, I'd never seen a rugby ball till I was about 13 or 14 when I started off in Gerrards, so I didn't really like the sport. I was terrible at it. I hadn't a clue what was going on, and then I think I was about 14, had a bit of a growth spurt. Went into second year a bit taller, a bit rangier, so I got thankfully bumped down into the second row, and then started to kind of enjoy my rugby a bit more. It wasn't as miserable being in the front in the second row compared to the front row. So thankfully, then again, a year after, I kind of got pushed down to the back row, and I've settled here, and I definitely feel a hell of a lot more comfortable playing number 8 than I did playing tight head prop. I don't know how long it would have lasted competing with Tig and the rest of the lads in there. They've a few kilos on me at this stage.
So what were you doing up until the age of 13 or 14 then? For me, I always, my first love would have been Gaelic football. I played out in Kilmac where I went to primary school. Whether it was soccer with Glencormac or football with Kilmac, they were kind of my first loves. And never even thought about playing rugby. There was no real rugby clubs around. Obviously, at Greystones, but that wasn't something that I kind of started. I didn't play for Greystones till I was about 16 or 17. So at that stage, it was all Gaelic really, and a bit of football on the side. So that was my first love, and it wasn't until I kind of got into Gerrards that I get a taste for it. And even then, it took me a while to kind of come to love the game.
Were you any good at football?
I wasn't bad. Played for Wicklow, underage teams. I'm not sure if that's a huge kind of accomplishment, playing for Wicklow.
Better than most people.
Well, yeah. So that's where I kind of honed my skills a little bit. Playing for Wicklow under 16, then in Avondale and Knockram and other far field places.
What position were you?
Midfield, and then probably when I got a bit older and a bit slower, I was moved into fullback. I definitely. I don't. In hindsight now, I don't know if I would have had the engine to play midfield. But no, I loved it, and it's definitely something I can see myself going back to do when I hang up the boots.
That'd be class. Do you think then that kind of helped with the development when it eventually accelerated a little bit more, having that range of skills from a younger age?
Yeah, I think so. I think, I would always back my skill set and my ability with ball in hand, and even feeling a high ball if I had to. You look at other players. Obviously, Rob Kearney's a well documented player who's come out and had told his love for Gaelic football and how much help that gave him playing when he was growing up in Louth. So I think it definitely helped me. Those kind of hand-eye coordination skills that you need at a young age to play Gaelic, and even a bit of hurling that I played for Brahmans back in the day. I think is definitely something to pay dividends as I get older.
So who was it that told you that you're pretty good at this thing when you get moved into the back row eventually?
Tony Ward would have been a kind of one of my first mentors when it came to rugby when I was about. He was head of games in Gerrards, and he would have someone I've always, even now, I'd still talk to frequently enough about my career, especially a few years ago when I kind of had opportunities to move afield, and I would have always asked his opinion and valued what he had to say, because obviously he knew the game so well and had so much experience. So Tony was kind of always, even when other coaches and other opportunities didn't go my way, he was always fighting for me. He was always pushing for me, and I was in my corner. So I always think I owe a lot to him.
So when you say move afield, you mean, was it leave Leinster?
Yeah, I had a few opportunities when I was younger to kind of go other places. Obviously, such competition in the back row at Leinster. Even the likes, Jordan Coughlin just signed for Leicester. Conor Gilson, he's in London Irish, and those lads were in my year in school and got into the academy ahead of me. And obviously, the massive, kind of amount of back rowers in Leinster at that time. Kevin McLaughlin, St Jennings, Jamie, Shawnee. Then there's obviously Reese and Dippy and stuff, and the lads were still young, and Geordie was still just about to crack on. So there was a massive kind of blockage in line to getting into that starting position for Leinster, even getting a cap. So at different stages I thought maybe it'd be best to look somewhere else, and I had a few different offers, but looking back now, I'm glad I waited it out.
Absolutely. Were they offers from the Premiership or even further afield?
No, there was one or two from the Premiership, and then there was a good few offers from different places here as well. Okay. So I could have gone to different provinces, which would have been obviously so different, considering I've always been involved with Leinster. But I'm glad I stuck to my guns and backed myself, and I think I've come out on the right side of it.
Do you still keep in touch with Tony when it comes to even asking for advice, even, or you're probably beyond that point now, are you?
No, even not in the last kind of year or two, but the last 3 or 4 years I would have spoken to him if I had any kind of queries about different contracts or what he thought, or even aspects of my game that he would have thought I needed to work on. So, he's always been some good, reliable source for me to go to contact if I needed advice.
He was basically a mentor for you before you go to college. I think you go to DIT to study marketing then, and you still have to work your ass off to actually make it at that point. It's not like a prodigy who comes in and everybody knows he's going to be a superstar sort of thing.
No, I was far from it. I don't think there was too many people shouting for Jack Conan to be fast rated straight into the Leinster team. So it took me a while to kind of hone my skills and kind of better myself to a position where I could even get into the academy and then make the most of those opportunities to push on and get a few caps. So yeah, a bit of a slow burner at the start.
I always feel a little bit of sympathy, not too much sympathy, for the soon-to-be successful rugby players who have to give up all the enjoyment of college to actually go to training, I presume, early in the morning to actually try and make it.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be out with Dave Fagan in the sub academy, and anyone who's been out there will know how testing that can be, out in a porta cabin at 6:30, 7 o'clock on a Monday morning, and it's the bar is frozen, and it's sticking to your hands when you're trying to lift weights, and it's barely any AC, and Dave shouting at you and nearly chasing around the gym trying to hit you with a stick. So it's that was definitely kind of weeded out the lads who wanted it, and then the lads who probably thought, right, this is enough for me, I'll leave it here. So I always kind of thought, as when I was younger, if I'm not probably as naturally as gifted as other lads, I'll have to work that bit harder and make sure that I want it more than they do. And luckily enough, I think it paid dividends massively.
Who would have been your first Leinster senior coach? Matt O'Connor, would it?
Yeah, so Matt would have been. I got one cap back in, what was it now, 2014, probably 2014 at this stage, against, or maybe even before, against Cardiff. And then I had to wait another few months before I got my second. I think it would have been Matt's first few months in charge, and then Leo was just transitioning from player into coach as well. So it was himself and Matt who were kind of taking the reins at Leinster.
So what does someone like Matt O'Connor say to you when you're about to make that break, in terms of making you feel welcome and I guess giving you the belief in your own capabilities at that point?
Yeah, I always got along really well with Matty, and he was great for me. He was fond of me as a player, and he gave me so many opportunities, and I ended up making my European debut as well the next year, and gone on to play 20 odd times, which was massive considering I played once the year before. So Matty was always just an advocate, just kind of to back yourself, trust your own ability, and work hard, and things will happen for you. And he obviously he didn't last. He wasn't in Leinster too long, but at the time, Wonderman was what I really enjoyed, and he'll always be the coach that kind of gave me my first opportunity.
Yeah, I always say that there's such a selection of great minds to actually help you through that development stage in Leinster rugby, because as you mentioned, aftermath, then you have Leo and you have Stuart as well on top of that, some great captains as well through the place, from Isa to Johnny and all that. So it's a great education if you're actually a bit of a sponge to take it all in. Yeah,
absolutely. Like, there's so many kind of different rugby thoughts, mindsets, and you see them in all the different coaches. And then obviously Stuart's come in the last few years, and he's his knowledge and in depth of the game is just incredible. And I think he's one of my favourite coaches I've ever played under. He's the way he wants to play the game, I think, suits me massively, and it suits Leinster rugby as well. It's expansive, and it's exciting to watch. And I think you only have watched a few of the games over the last few years, and you see how much we throw it around and kind of that exciting style that we play. And we've gone on to win some great things under him, and hopefully it's only the start. His input, and then the likes of Leo as well, who's transitioned so well from being a player to a coach. Leinster is such an exciting place to be, and I'm really proud to have played a small part in it, and hopefully there's still lots more to come.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned the style of play there, because we often marvel at Tyke Furlong offloading the ball, but I think you offloading the ball with your shorts halfway down against Ulster this year was probably the highlight of the season.
Yeah, in hindsight I probably shouldn't have made note of it in my after-match comments, and then I was like, I'm never going to live this down. Everyone's going to be saying this for the rest of my days. So there'd actually been a few weeks previously that I was my shorts come nearly all the way down, and there was a lot on show, so I'm at least happy that there was, I was wearing fairly tight undershorts, so there wasn't more of a show. So look, that was a great day. Anytime you get to play for Leinster in the Aviva is really special, and especially those derby games in Europe in knockout stages against Ulster was something really special. Obviously probably not the best performance on our behalf, and we were lucky to come out on the right side of it. We needed a mistake or two from the other lads to kind of get over the line. But that was great, and definitely running up the sideline with my shorts out around my knees was something I won't forget for a while.
So in a month's time, or close to a month's time anyway, you'll be on a plane to Japan at this point.
Please God.
I guess when you look at what happened this week, you've got 2 players culled from the squad. There'll be another cull against this week. Is there a feeling that nobody's safe at this moment?
Yeah, I think the kind of false sense of security of pre-season was quickly washed away when lads are starting to get cut as they did last week. So I think it kind of reminds you of the imminent fate if you're not at your best, and you're not. And that's not to say that the lads weren't. It's obviously a very tough position. The standards are so incredibly high, and you've got so many experienced lads in every single position. No one's safe. So it's about just taking these opportunities over the next few weeks, and obviously putting your hand up from everything pre-season, you know, making sure you're showing to the coaches how hard you're working, and when it comes to these warm-up games, you know, just applying those things that we've been working on so hard in the last few weeks, and those kind of tweaks to our game that we've made over the course of pre-season, so the coaches see that you're fitting into the structures and you're able to implement game plans.
Yeah, because I guess it's kind of a two-way street. You're kind of looking over your shoulder to ensure there's no one coming behind you, and then in your specific case, the general tone out there is that it's you versus CJ for the 8 jersey. Now, like I was talking to Jamie Heaslip at a show a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying that actually you should be starting at 8, and I said, should CJ be dropping? He's like, no, not at all. He can also play in the back row, and that versatility that you bring as well. You can play 6. That's something that's so important, I presume, at this point when it comes to actually looking around and keeping your place within the squad.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, like when we get over to Japan, there's going to be injuries. There's going to be lads who pick up small niggles who mightn't be available for a certain game, and there'll have to be some element of reshuffling. So I think to be able to play, you know, in another position is definitely another strength to someone's bow. And even though I don't have a whole lot of experience playing 6 at international level, I did get my first cap there, you know, 4 weeks ago, I think, next week. So it's something I am capable of doing. I've done, you know, as you mentioned, Jamie there, when he was playing in Leinster, the two of us, you know, many times I played at 6 and he played at 8, so it's something more I'm capable of doing, and hopefully it's something the coaches look at as well and see that I have that versatility and the ability to cover in multiple positions. So when it comes to making those decisions, it leans more in my favour.
Well, Jack, very best of luck with the next couple of weeks. Thanks a million for popping in.
Cheers, thank you.
Jack Conan was speaking at the launch of the hashtag This Is My Dublin campaign promoting Dublin City Sports Fest 2019. Sports Fest is a week-long celebration of sport and physical activity from the 23rd to the 29th of September. Everyone is encouraged to participate regardless of age, ability or background. For more information, visit dublincity.ie/sportsfest.